Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Monday, March 25th, presented by Boston Hemp, Inc. Ian Cameron, Brett Skalski with you on a Monday, ready to break down the card. 2 games tonight in the NHL for this Tuesday, or for this Monday night slate. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm so excited about Tuesday. It is a huge card on Tuesday coming up tomorrow. And we have, of course, our live betcast. Might as well, since I'm talking Tuesday already, I'm trying to skip ahead. Might as well mention the betcast. It's coming your way tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We are excited about it. This is our one and only public free-for-all betcast. We did have a Patreon betcast earlier this month. This is the first one this month that is open to everybody that can join us tomorrow night, Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. A DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. We're even hearing rumblings here that our own Brett Skalski here might be jumping in and joining us for a little bit during the betcast tomorrow night. So we're looking forward to it. It's a great slate. I mean, huge games, playoff implications up and down the schedule tomorrow night. Rangers and Flyers, Devils and Leafs. Devils are actually still in the thing, believe it or not, after their win yesterday. Vegas and Nashville, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and probably the game of the night. First round playoff rematch, Boston and Florida, and a battle for first place in the Atlantic Division. So it's a great NHL card from a viewing standpoint tomorrow night, and it should be from a betting standpoint as well. So make sure you join us, Ice Guys Live Betcast, tomorrow night, Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. All right, let's look back on a busy Sunday in the NHL, and it started with another just dreadful road performance from the Winnipeg Jets. The road trip ends with 2 duds, really. The game in New Jersey was pretty bad for them. They got badly outplayed, outchanced in the penalty box most of the night. I think they actually played worse against the Islanders on Saturday. And yesterday, look, I don't think they played great against Washington. You know, it was better, and certainly Connor Hellebuck was better, but he didn't have a lot of help. There was no offense generated by the Jets. They get shut out by Charlie Lindgren in that game. And Washington, who, I'll tell you what, I'm finally coming around on Washington. They're playing with great energy. There seems to be this fire that's been lit under this hockey team where they want to make the playoffs. You know, Ovi wants to make the playoffs badly. There's always the question of, you know, how far can they really honestly go if they do get in? They might be just walking into the playoffs just to get, you know, crushed in the first round. But you'll never know unless you get in. And this Washington team is playing with great purpose to try to make the playoffs, because how many more years is Alex Ovechkin going to have at his disposal to make the Stanley Cup playoffs? You know, that's the thing. And I think there's a collective around this Washington team where let's do our damnedest to try to get this guy into the Stanley Cup playoffs. And he's doing everything in his power right now to get himself and his team into the Stanley Cup playoffs. All of a sudden, all the concerns about his ability to score goals, we all kind of had them early in the season when he was, you know, just not producing at all. It's gone away. We're seeing shades of vintage Ovi, shades of the vintage grade 8 right now for the Washington Capitals. 2 goals yesterday in the victory against Winnipeg, heating up at the right time for the Capitals, and a very impressive shutout win there for the Washington Capitals against the Winnipeg Jets, as they now are in a playoff position if the season ended today. Pittsburgh, Colorado, from a betting standpoint, that was the game of the day for me. There was no better game results-wise than that. We had the first period over. We had the full game over. We had Colorado team total over. And even more than that, and even better than that, was the live bets we all jumped in on. It felt like everybody in the Ice Guys community jumped in on these live bets after the second period when Colorado closed the 4-0 deficit to 4-2. And I do want to say about Colorado, they were awful in the first period. I don't know if you'll find a worse period of hockey that they've played all season, especially on home ice, than what we saw from them in the first period against Pittsburgh. Flat as a pancake, but that's how good the Colorado Avalanche are. They could be absolutely dog shit for one period, dude, absolutely dick all, look brutal, look like they have zero shot to win. And then all of a sudden the offense springs to life and they can outscore their way out of any trouble. And that's exactly what ended up happening yesterday against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Plus, Pittsburgh is absolute shit defensively. We've talked about that for weeks now on the show. So you knew a comeback was possible, especially, Brett, when they closed it from 4-0 to 4-2 by the end of the second period. That's when you sense that, hey, they're probably going to do this. They're probably going to come back because Pittsburgh's totally no confidence, fragile team, fragile psyche. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as the things start to go badly for Pittsburgh in a game, they get worse. And that's exactly what happened. Colorado ties it in the third. We cash the live draw plus 400. We cash the live Colorado money line plus 400. A plus 800 combined hit for me in that with both of those bets. And Jonathan Drouin wins it in overtime 5-4, Brett. And I know you were on the draw at the very least in that game as well. It just seemed like some of the most obvious live bets that would ever come across my vision, if you will, was taking Colorado once they got that to 4-2.
Yeah, and as bad as they were in the first period, the second period they were.
Yeah,
I mean, McKinnon was just all over the place in the second period. He almost made it 4-3 before the intermission went.
Yeah.
So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, yep, I'm in on this. And I put it on Twitter. I refreshed my Twitter feed, and there was Babano getting on it, Alex getting on it, Terry getting on it. It was awesome.
Yep. No, it felt like the whole a lot of the community definitely was on Colorado and or the draw or both when they were down. So yeah, exactly. And we've seen enough of Pittsburgh blowing leads and bad defense to know that it was very possible that Colorado was going to be able to come back and win that game. And someone in our chat here, Cole, saying he actually jumped in on Colorado down 4-0. I didn't at that point. I wanted to see a little pulse first from Colorado. But once they showed that pulse with those 2 goals, I'm like, yep, they can complete this comeback. And sure enough, they did that. So great comeback by Colorado, and Pittsburgh basically doing what they've done a lot here lately in the season. We had a good slew of 6 p.m. Eastern games. Florida, credit to them. Tough spot, banged up, back-to-back on the road. They go into Philly. They beat the Philadelphia Flyers 4-1. Anthony Stolarz, another outstanding effort in net. This guy has been terrific every time he's gotten the nod in net when Bobrovsky has not been the starting goalie. He's been great. A big win for Florida there to break the little 4-game losing streak that they were on. Very, very gutsy win. I was very impressed by the Florida Panthers. And shout out to Alex B. Smith, man. What a fucking call on the bargain bin special from him yesterday. Sam Reinhart, first goal, plus 950. What a job there to end up cashing in with that. Great stuff from Sam Reinhart and from Alex B. Smith to cash in with that. Toronto, Carolina. Look, the one good thing about this game is I had the first period over, which cashed, and I did have a piece of Toronto next goal when they were down 2-0. And they did score to make it 2-1. They could not get the tying goal. 2-1 loss to Carolina. Really, it was their start that did them in. They had a terrible first period. I thought, look, the handicap, the part of the handicap that I got correct, even though Toronto didn't win, was that Carolina would lose their legs in the third period, playing the 6th game in 9 nights. They did. You can honestly see that, they were hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. They had very little in the gas tank late in that game, but unfortunately, Freddie Anderson kind of, stoned his old team. He was terrific, especially in the third period when the Leafs were really pressing to tie that game. And Carolina gets a hold on for dear life type of 2-1 win against the Toronto Maple Leafs yesterday. Very disappointing from Edmonton. And someone that had Edmonton team total and Edmonton in regulation. The good news is I had the over for the game, 6.5. So I did have that. But that's disappointing to not be able to put away that Ottawa team up 3-1. And the Senators come back and they win 4-3. It wasn't the best game from Pickard, and we always worry about Calvin Pickard. He's a journeyman goalie his whole career. He's played, I think, above his level, above his expectation level here in Edmonton this year for the most part. Maybe there's going to be some leveling off. I think we saw some of that yesterday against Ottawa. But credit to the Senators. We've said their talent on the team, roster-wise, is better than their record. There's going to be nights when they're going to be able to do this to teams that need points. They're going to be able to sneak up and spoil the party. and pull some upsets. They did it against New Jersey Saturday, and they did it again last night against the Edmonton Oilers. So credit to Ottawa for coming back and getting the 4-3 victory in that game against the Edmonton Oilers. And that's a tough back-to-back for the Oilers against Toronto and Ottawa over the weekend. Dallas with a 4-2 win against Arizona. Hoping for one more goal to cash that full game over. It just fell short. Chances at the empty net. And apparently the Barstool crew was there. Dave Portnoy and Paul Bissonnette, of course, who does the Spit and Chicklets podcast for them. They were all there for some convention, IceCon they called it. So they got a lot of the spotlight during the broadcast of that Stars Coyotes game, and apparently they all jumped in on over 6.5. So that's a bad beat for that entire crew that was there at the Mullet Arena for that game. I did have the Dallas team total over, and Matt Robinson did have that as his best bet yesterday. Dallas team total over 3.5, and Stars get a nice 4-2 win against Arizona. Tampa Bay 3-2 against Anaheim in overtime. Ducks, that's what I get for taking a late shot with over 2.5 on their team total. Even against Jonas Johansson playing a team on a back-to-back, they still can't get you 3 goals. Credit to Tampa. There was a late absence of Braden Point and Victor Hedman, but they still find a way to get the job done. And, of course, Johansson instead of Vasilevsky and net, and they still get the job done. 3-2 against Anaheim. Buffalo 4-1 against Calgary. How about a miracle cash for me with the team total? 2 very late goals for the Sabres to somehow get there with Buffalo over 3.5. We did have Buffalo money line as well. I thought it was a good spot for them. They got drubbed in the third period against Edmonton. 2 days off to lick their wounds, come back strong last night against Calgary. Calgary traveling back from Vancouver the night before, second night of back-to-back games. I figured it was a nice spot for Buffalo to take advantage, and they did that with a 4-1 win against Calgary last night. And then I thought, for me, if I could classify one bet as the underdog of the day, it would have been the Montreal Canadiens, because Seattle's just a dead-ass team right now. 5-1, that's a low point. At least with Seattle, they've lost to some pretty good teams. They've had a pretty tough schedule. The Arizona game on Friday night, they led, and then they lost in overtime. They were at least competitive. That's Montreal going into your building and smoking you in the first period. That's a low now for Seattle. That's a new low for them. They're just fade city for me until further notice. That's completely fallen apart. What is that now? 8 losses in a row for them. 1-7 now without, 1-8, I should say, now without Vince Dunn. I thought it was just an obvious spot to, this team shouldn't be minus 160 against anybody right now. And the Seattle Kraken proved it last night as Montreal gets an easy 5-1 victory against the Seattle Kraken. It's kind of unfortunate to see, because that fan base so badly wants to latch onto that team. They had the surprise season last year in year 2 where they made the playoffs, won at the first round, upset Colorado, took Dallas to 7 games in the second round, and they unfortunately have not been able to build on that. A huge step back this season for the Seattle Kraken, and not even going to make the postseason. And it looks like the way things are going for them in this fall off a cliff that that's happened to them the last couple of weeks. Not only are they going to miss the playoffs, they're going to miss the playoffs by a wide margin. Like, it's not even going to be close that they are going to miss the playoffs here in the Western Conference. Brett, what were your thoughts on the rest of what we saw Sunday?
I think you missed a game in there too, unless I was daydreaming.
Did I miss one?
Devils Islanders.
Oh, that's probably because I don't want to talk about it. That's probably
me
why.
either.
Look, if you're going to have a 7 or 8 game, I keep forgetting how much the streak was. It was a 7 or 8 game best bet winning streak for me on the show. At least if it's going to come to an end, you don't want it to come to an end in heartbreaking fashion. I mean, I knew in the early second period, that's it. This is the Islanders. Shame on me for believing in this erratic, flighty, inconsistent bunch. What a pathetic performance after smoke. How did they smoke Winnipeg the way they did on Saturday? And then you come back and you lay a fucking egg like that against the New Jersey Devils, and you let Kaapo Kakkonen shut you out on home ice. Brutal. Pathetic. I hope they miss the playoffs. You don't deserve it when you with this kind of inconsistency. And Anders Lee, how about instead of sticking your fucking knee out and hitting Hischier, how about you score a goal? You've been a disaster offensively this year. You're the captain of the team. How about a little offense? How about going to the front of the net, getting your stick on the puck and deflecting one home? How about scoring a goal? How about coming through offensively instead of being a moron and getting a 5-minute major and really sewering your team out of any chance to come back and win that hockey game? How about that? How about that for leadership instead of doing donkey-ass behavior like that? So there we go.
What
do you think here, Brett? Yeah.
I think they will miss the playoffs based on that game. They're chasing Washington.
What a fucking donkey Anders Lee is for that. He really is. I mean, you haven't done squat offensively all year. Total disappearing act from this guy. Go back to Notre Dame, because right now you're not an NHL hockey player. Go back to college right now, because you're not playing at an NHL level. And that was ridiculous to Heeshear. That's just things aren't going your way. I'm going to stick my knee out, see what happens. That's just anger. That's frustration, and that's not how you handle it. You're the captain of the team. That's the example you're setting. Some captain. Holy shit, some captain.
Other than that, it was a decent weekend.
Yeah.
No, yesterday was a tough day, I think. I was all over the Islanders as well. Edmonton too. So yesterday wasn't a great day. I did, however, cash Ohio State women's to be national champions, which is great to see. That was holding that ticket for a long time, so that was great. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the last stretch of the season here. You got a real tight race in the East for that last wild card spot. Flyers, Red Wings, Caps, which they play each other. What? Caps, Red Wings tomorrow night. That's a big game.
It's a huge game. That is an enormous game for both of those teams, no doubt.
They play each other twice, and don't look now, but April 16th, last game of the regular season, Flyers, Washington. Could be a monster game. So I'm really looking forward to the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the season here.
And we're basically here, Brett. We're basically at the point where we've got just 3 weeks left in the regular season. So the push for the playoffs is definitely here, and it's going to be very, very exciting. And John's right. There's 2 spots. There's the wild cards. There's the second wild card spot, which is down to, there's a bunch of teams vying for that. And there's still the 3rd spot in the Metro. And Philly is not home and clear yet with that by any stretch of the imagination. So
no, but they just got through their tough part.
Yeah.
Where Washington's picking up now on those same opponents. But yeah.
That'll be the one and only time, Juan, that I'm betting the Islanders on a back-to-back. That's now 0-9 for them on a back-to-back this season. I thought yesterday was the right opponent, the right goaltender to snap it, and they don't even score a damn goal. So that's enough of that. Probably definitely no Islander bets on a back-to-back anymore. But probably no Islander bets anytime soon for me. That was infuriating. If I'm Patrick Waugh was ready to fucking. I think if he had the opportunity to throw the bench on the ice like Robbie Fatorik did back in the day. Remember that Robbie Fatorik, the Devils coach, way back, and he tossed the fucking bench on the ice. He was so angry. I think Patrick Waugh honestly was thinking of doing that during that game. Like you could see the steam coming out of his ears that his team was that pathetic in a game of that magnitude yesterday. And it'll be interesting to see what the practice for the Islanders. Have fun with that coming off that kind of game. I don't even know if it's going to help. Like I say, they just cannot string good games together. 2 good performances in a row together. There's a lot of teams in this league that can't do it this year, but that's
I was real surprised with Winnipeg too.
Yeah,
I think that just shows like Bonus is out and they're 0-3 without him.
Yeah.
So until he's back, I'm staying away from Winnipeg altogether.
Yeah, I don't know what it is because the last time Bonus was away with his wife, the last time he was away, it was his wife that was battling the health issues. This time it's himself. He's got his own health issues. He's got a procedure he's going through. But the last time he was away, they still won games and they still had a pretty decent record, Winnipeg. This time, though, you're right. It's been rough. These 3 games have been a pathetic display by the Winnipeg Jets. The Jersey game, the Islander game, and then the Washington game. So they've got their fans concerned again. I'm seeing it on Twitter. All the Jets fans are panicking again. Are we going to be a first-round exit again in the play? That's what they're thinking right now after those 3 games. Right or wrong, that's what they're thinking right now. So we'll see if they, hopefully you're right, Aaron. Home cooking is going to cure what ails them after this disastrous end of the road trip. Yeah. All right, we've got 2 games in the NHL tonight. Let's get into it. We'll start with Vegas and St. Louis. Golden Knights minus 150 road favorites here, 6 the total in this game, shaded to the over in this one. The Vegas Golden Knights, of course, a team trying to get on. This is another team that's had issues, with getting on a roll and getting some traction going, is in a win streak. But they have won 2 in a row against Seattle and Columbus at home. I don't know if I want to make a huge deal and get too excited about that. It is the Blue Jackets, and it is the Kraken, who we just talked about, have totally crumbled. This will be a lot tougher now. You're going on the road. You're facing a St. Louis team that is playing really good hockey, 6-1, their last 7. And the only loss was Colorado at home, 4-3. Colorado, one of the absolute hottest teams in the NHL right now, outside of the Nashville Predators. So really, this has been a really, really good run here for the St. Louis Blues going into this matchup against Vegas. When you look at Vegas on the road this year, 15-19 coming into this game, 4 games below 500 on the road. A team that's lost to Calgary on the road, a team that's lost to Buffalo on the road, a team that's lost to Columbus on the road. This team is 1-3 in their last 4 road games coming into this spot here against the St. Louis Blues. It's not exactly making me excited about laying minus 150 here with this team. Still without Pietrangelo, by the way. Aiden Hill looks like he's also on the injured list right now. Undisclosed issue with him. So Logan Thompson will get the start. He's very capable when he's on his game for sure. Jordan Binnington will get the start here for the St. Louis Blues in this game going up against Thompson. They're relatively healthy now. So that's the good news here for St. Louis. I'm on St. Louis here, plus 130. I think it's just good value. I think we're getting value with St. Louis right now because of the struggles early in the season, which is important to me because I think when you look at current form, you could argue St. Louis's form's been very good. When you're 6-1 and your only loss is Colorado in your last 7 games, you're doing very well. Vegas got a 6-3 victory in St. Louis back in December. But 2 days before that, St. Louis won in Vegas 2-1 in overtime. So they've split the season series. 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone over the total in this game. I'm going to go with the small bet on the over as well. Over 6, especially with it at 6. 6.5, I'm not interested. 6, I am. Vegas right now is still more of an offensive team at the moment. They're scoring goals, and they're still not been great at the defensive end. I don't put much stock in holding Columbus to 2. Seattle, which has 0 offense right now during this losing streak, and since Vince Dunn got injured, they have really had a tough time scoring goals, Seattle. So I don't get too excited about, wow, this Vegas defense really started to clamp down these last 2 games. Well, maybe it's more, no, you just played the Blue Jackets and you played the Kraken. Okay, you're going to play a little bit of a tougher offensive foe right now here with the St. Louis Blues going into this game. So a little bit on the over, and I like St. Louis here, plus 130. I think it's a good value price on a home dog that's playing well, and a Vegas team that, 3 of their last 4 losses on the road, 3 of their last 4 games on the road they've lost, and they've lost to worse teams than the St. Louis Blues. So, yeah, going to take a shot here. St. Louis plus 130. Cashed a ticket with them as a dog Saturday in Minnesota. They got the job done in overtime. I just think this is a little bit mispriced given the form of these respective teams right now. What do you think here, Brett? Vegas, St. Louis?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm also leaning to sprinkle on the draw. There's some overtime history between these 2 teams, and I'm going to kind of take it one step further with St. Louis at home as well. And Vegas not being very great on the road. They seem to be a very slow starting team. So I'm going to also add St. Louis first period money line at plus 115. With the importance of this game, I can see St. Louis coming out, scoring early, hopefully holding on to that lead with Binnington in net. I expect it to be more competitive as the game goes on, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a St. Louis team that's finding ways, and they're finding ways to win right now because they've really perked up offensively. They have scored 3 goals or more now in 7 consecutive games, and including during the wins that they've had, and they've scored 5 in each of their last 2 games. So, I like what I'm seeing here from this team right now as far as production is concerned offensively. And I think if you're going to go anywhere with props tonight, the 2 it's actually a pretty good prop game. Jack Eichel is heating up. He's got 5 goals, 6 assists, 11 points in the last 7 games. So he's definitely someone you got to target for Vegas. He's been very good lately for them. You could even go over 1.5 points with him tonight. Shea Theodore, he has 23 points in the last 19 games. 22 of those 23 points have been assists. So this Shea Theodore assist prop, you got to keep rocking with it. I mean, 22 assists in the last 19 games for Shea Theodore from the blue line for Vegas. And then for St. Louis, it's back to the old friend of ours, our good neighborly friend. Won't you be my neighbor, Jake Neighbors? 5 goals, 2 assists, 7 points in the last 6 games for the Blues. And one thing you could do, we've only got 2 games. Maybe we can be a little creative since it's such a light slate. How about we try a little same game parlay here? How about Eichel and Neighbors point prop? Keep it simple. Eichel point, Neighbors point. You'll get something pretty good there, and you can go one step further. Eichel goal, Neighbors goal. I think a goal parlay with those 2 guys, same game parlay, is probably worth a shot here in this game as well. You put that together, you're going to end up getting, I think a little bit of a decent price with that in this game. Because those 2 players definitely stand out to me like a sore thumb as far as player props. Eichel for Vegas, Neighbors for St. Louis in this game. Throw in a little Toropchenko, who we've talked about on this show before, that he's been chipping in every now and then from the 4th line for the St. Louis Blues entering this matchup. Let me see. Buchnevich, has 4 goals, 7, actually all assists. Buchnevich, 7 assists in the last 4 games for him. So pointer assist prop for him, certainly worth a look as well. So keep an eye on that. But to me, it starts and ends with Eichel for Vegas and Neighbors for St. Louis. Those 2 guys have been very, very consistent as far as getting the job done at the offensive end of the ice. So I'm just going to run it through the old calculator right now, if you will. We'll see what we find. Just the straight point prop for Eichel and for Neighbors. Let me see what we've got here. Hold on one second. And then the goal prop is like not only a point parlay with those 2 guys, a goal parlay as well, because most of especially with Neighbors, most of his points are goals than they are assists. He's more of a finisher than he is a facilitator. So I'm just
Eichel's got 4 goals in the last 4 games and has scored in both games against St. Louis this year.
There you go. So yeah, Eichel Neighbors point parlay is plus 170. Still pretty good. It's you turn it into plus money, and I think it's a really good plus 170 because I think it's a damn good chance you at least get a point from both tonight. And then you could do the goal parlay with both of those players tonight. Eichel for Vegas, Neighbors for St. Louis, plus 800 at Bet365 for that. So yeah. Definitely, I think that's pretty good. Plus 800 for Eichel and Neighbors to find the back of the net here tonight in this one. So good stuff. That's plus 800 for just them to score a goal is a good look, in my opinion, here in this game. All right, next up, LA Kings, Vancouver Canucks. We've got Vancouver minus 130, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. The Vancouver Canucks, it's been a workmanlike effort from them the last few games, 3-game win streak. Buffalo, now the competition hasn't been great. We do have to point that out. Buffalo 3-2, they kind of had to hang on. 4-1 against Montreal, 4-2 against Calgary. I think the most noticeable thing about Vancouver is when they lost to this LA Kings team at home 5-1 on February the 29th, the calendar then turns to March. It was at that moment that head coach Rick Tocchet said, we need to buckle down defensively. We need to lock in once again to the details of our game, at the defensive end of the ice. And since that time, well, first of all, since that time, Vancouver's played a lot better, 7-2 in their last 9 games since that 5-1 loss at home to LA. And that's when their season turned around again, where they got back to playing great team defense. Aside from blowing that game against a red-hot Colorado team, the Vancouver Canucks have given up 2 goals or less in 8 of their last 9 games. So they have absolutely heeded the preaching of Rick Tocchet to say, you know what, we've got to find our game defensively. I think what's impressive, too, about Vancouver's improved defensive play during this run is the fact that they've done this without Thatcher Demko. They've just done it with Casey DeSmith, their backup goalie. And they've done it with a recommitment to the details, to the structure, to having a third forward high, to make sure that, you've got responsibility, to make sure you drill into the players' heads that, don't cheat for offense. Don't fly the zone. Make sure you get the puck out of the zone first before you start to go up ice and go and try to get your offense. So I think that's all those little fundamental details of playing team defense in a sport like this that Vancouver is dialed in on right now. And they're playing a style of hockey that can win in the playoffs. Like, Vancouver has really kind of become, I don't want to say a boring team to watch, but they have really kind of played more of a tight style. We're okay, only scoring 2 or 3 or 4 goals a night. As long as we get the win and we shut the other team down and we get the timely saves from our goaltender, in this case DeSmith, then that's what we're looking for at this time of year. Rick Tocchet is not someone that right now is interested, from everything he said since that LA loss at the end of February. He doesn't sound like a coach that's interested in seeing his team play a bunch of 6-5, 5-4 hockey games right now. He wants them to play this very good, strong defensive team structure that we're seeing from them. We'll see if they can carry that over. They've won 3 in a row, like I said, against the Sabres, the Habs, and the Flames, but this will be tougher because LA, it's been a pretty good run for them here in the last few games. They've won 4 of their last 5. The only loss was at Dallas 4-1, but they shut out Chicago on the road. They go back home and they sweep the homestand 6-2 against Chicago, 6-0 against Minnesota, 4-3 against Tampa Bay in overtime. They've actually trended over the total here all of a sudden, and their offense has picked up. During all 4 victories, they've scored at least 4 goals. So all of a sudden, LA is starting to get their offense going a little bit. And there's a couple of reasons, I think, why LA's offensive game has improved a little bit. Victor Arvidsson's return is huge because not only is he capable of scoring, and he's a bona fide offensive player, returning to the lineup from injury, but his presence in the lineup allows Jim Hiller to lengthen and deepen the forward group. All of a sudden, you've got more depth there now in the forward group. You've got Byfield, Kopitar, Kempe, capable, Moore, Deneau, Fiala, capable. And now all of a sudden you have a third line with Arvidsson there, Laferriere, who has really started to pick things up a little bit lately. And when his head's screwed on straight, Dubois, when he decides to show up, you have all of a sudden at least a capable enough third scoring line for the LA Kings. So it has made a difference here for Los Angeles having Victor Arvidsson back in the lineup for the LA Kings in this game. So this is a game where I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit on the draw here with the Kings and the Canucks. I'll be honest, from a side perspective, I kind of lean Los Angeles here at a small road underdog price. And the reason for that is because LA's been better on the road all season as opposed to at home. Even though they did just sweep a homestand, it's really one of the few times they've had an extended stretch of wins and quality play on home ice. Most of the season, they've played their best hockey on the road. And, the last time Vancouver and LA played, remember, Vancouver was looking to avenge that ugly 5-1 loss to the Kings, and they did so. They won in overtime by a score of 2-1 over the Los Angeles Kings in that game. But keep in mind, Thatcher Demko was in that night. And for the LA Kings, they were missing multiple players in that overtime loss to the Vancouver Canucks in LA on I'm trying to see what the date was again. It was March 5th. It was a 2-1 Vancouver win in overtime in LA. It was the last meeting. If you look at the LA lineup, they didn't have Arvidsson back yet. He's back now. And I don't think Adrian Kempe played that night. No, he didn't. Adrian Kempe was out that night as well for the Los Angeles Kings. So, credit to the Canucks. They won that game. You could tell they were focused. They got drilled at home by the Kings. The next week, they won in overtime 2-1 in LA. But they had Demko. Now they don't have Demko in that game. They don't have him tonight. And that's not me trying to, criticize DeSmith. DeSmith's been very good, but, it's still a difference, Demko to him. And secondly, there was no Kempe, and you didn't have Arvidsson back, and now you have him back. So I think LA is better equipped here tonight to battle this Vancouver team. So I haven't bet LA yet, but I am definitely strongly leaning that way to the Los Angeles Kings here, plus 110. I do like the draw, and I would actually lean to the under as far as the total is concerned, just because, you know what? Vancouver's not a team I'm excited about betting overs with right now. They want 2-1, 3-1 hockey. Their coach wants 2-1, 3-1 hockey. And who am I to disagree with that? What's that song? Who am I to disagree? There you go, a little Eurythmics there, Sweet Dreams. Who am I to disagree? Like Vancouver, you just watch Vancouver and you're like, okay, this team is very content and happy to win games 3-1 right now. That's what stands out like a sore thumb when you watch Vancouver play these days. Chris Otto, 5 straight first period overs for LA. That's true. But is Vancouver a first period over team right now? I'm not so sure about that. Yeah, total to me is just, I'm not betting the total. I'm just saying I would lean under full game. What do you think here in this one, Brett? Very interesting matchup, Kings, Canucks.
Yeah, it is. I'm thinking all along the same lines as you. I would sprinkle on the draw. I'm leaning LA, but haven't bet it yet. I just think, you look at that matchup between the goalies. Yeah, DeSmith is playing well. Vancouver's playing good team defense. Right? But who are they playing? Calgary, Montreal, Buffalo. That's who they're beating, not the most potent offenses. Lost to Washington, lost to Colorado. So if I had to lean one way, I'd say LA. And I also think the desperation is still more on LA's side to need the 2 points. Vancouver settled into their playoff. LA's looking over their shoulder with Nashville and Vegas right behind them, right? So, and even St. Louis. So I think the desperation is there for LA, and they've been a better road team. So I would lean LA, but the only thing I'm on right now is the draw. Under is probably the way to go, but this could also be a game where the floodgates open on DeSmith. So I'm not even going to bother.
All right, good stuff. And as far as the Cuban Wayne Gretzky, he's got the date. Like certain players do play better on certain days of the week. It's the weirdest thing, but there's usually something to it. Trevor Moore for the Kings, JT Miller for Vancouver. And that's JT Miller, by the way, Greg Millen. I heard that the other night. Greg Millen was calling the game for Calgary, Vancouver on Hockey Night. I was calling him TJ Miller during the broadcast. Obviously a slip of the tongue. He knows it's JT Miller, but I think he did it twice too, calling him that. It was just the funniest thing. But nevertheless, as far as this game goes, you look at Kings and Canucks here. There's actually some good prop opportunities here. If you look at it, Fiala's been good. Consistently for the large part. And here's one that I'll throw out there too. He's plus 230, Fiala, that is, to score a goal. Anze Kopitar's eating up right now for the LA Kings. His little run lately has been very good as far as goal scoring is concerned. He has scored now all of a sudden, if you look back to the last 5 games, he's got 5 goals in the last 5 games for the LA Kings, including a couple of multi-goal performances for them. So Anze Kopitar, one of the old stalwarts, one of the holdovers from the LA Kings dynasty teams of the last decade that won those Stanley Cups. He's starting to percolate again for the LA Kings in recent games offensively. And you can get pretty good price for him to score a goal tonight as well, even with the great career he's had, because it's been, not fluid this season offensively. You can get some pretty good prices on Kopitar. In fact, there's one book in Ontario that's got him at a certain threshold. And then Vancouver on the other side, I'm going back to those 2 flankers again, playing alongside Elias Pettersson on the top line. Nils Höglander and Connor Garland. They've been taking turns scoring goals the last few games for the Vancouver Canucks. So, Höglander, Garland again. Both of those guys playing on the top line for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. I think they're both worth a look. Victor Arvidsson, I'd throw his name in there too. Plus 400 at BetMGM. He scored in his return to the lineup. I think there's good value for a guy that's capable of scoring from that third line position in the lineup. Garland playing with Pettersson on the top line is upwards of plus 360 at Betano, plus 350 at PointsBet. Great value there again. And Nils Höglander too, also with Pettersson. Nils Höglander plus 370 at FanDuel to score a goal here for the Canucks tonight. Trevor Moore, Trevor Moore is one of those streaky players, Cuban. And with him, usually if you catch him, finally breaking a long drought, he can sometimes score in bunches. He had 5 games without a goal, but he did score against Tampa Bay on Saturday night. And sometimes that, opens the floodgates a bit. So I don't know how many goals they're going to be. I mean, be careful. This could be a 2-1 game, and you don't want to be peppering the board with goal props if you think it's going to be a low-scoring game. But nevertheless, from a pricing standpoint, there's definitely a lot of value with some goal props here tonight in this Kings and Canucks game. All right, great stuff. That's the Monday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. And by the way, Talbot and DeSmith projected, by the way, for the goaltending matchup with the Kings and the Canucks, but not confirmed yet. And a reminder again, one more time, just briefly, because we talked about it already. Betcast tomorrow night, Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a public Betcast, open, available to everybody to tune in and join us on the stream. So DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the Betcast, and we'll send you the link for it before it begins. And make sure you sign up and subscribe as an Ice Guys Patreon member, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Our daily sides, totals, and player props are posted each and every day on the page. The goalie charts, totals charts, as more to help you with your day-to-day betting. Bonus video content. We've got more Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming up in April and beyond. So we're excited about that. So again, make sure you sign up and subscribe. Great time of year to do it down the stretch of the regular season and into the Stanley Cup playoffs. And by the way, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because there are fewer games, at least for me, I can't speak for Alex, but I'm sure he'll get in on the fun too, because I've turned him into more of a prop player prop better the last year or so. During the Stanley Cup playoffs, there's going to be 4 games at most, usually most nights, especially during the first round. I am going to be betting and recommending on this show, and I'll have it posted as part of my card on the Patreon page every day during the playoffs. I will be betting a same-game parlay and cooking one up for every single playoff game during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Every playoff game, every playoff series. I will create some kind of same-game parlay, and it could be a mix of goal props, assist props, point props, maybe even throw in some shots on goal, even though I'm scared. But I will be dabbling again with shots on goal props once we get into the Stanley Cup playoffs. We know how much the amount of blocked shots go up in the Stanley Cup playoffs with the seasons on the line. So blocked shots, we might look at something like that. We're going to have so much fun from a prop standpoint, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, because as much as we love talking sides and totals with fewer games and fewer opportunities, we're going to be diving in and delving in a lot more to props during the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we're definitely looking forward to that, and I can't wait. We'll be it's going to be SGP heaven for those of you that like same game parlays come the Stanley Cup playoffs here on the Ice Guys show. And last but not least, make sure you check out the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and get your merch currently, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. And a reminder about the sale that's on. 2 days left of free standard shipping at the Ice Guys store. Actually, this is the last day, I should say. It ends at midnight tonight, okay? So that's midnight tonight that the offer of free standard shipping expires. So if you're going to order something, make sure it's tonight so that you could, or by the end of tonight, so that you can get the free standard shipping. Again, check it out, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up to wrap up the show in just a moment, right after we hear from our great sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. And again, get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. sometimes the best bargain bin opportunities, believe it or not, are from these small slates with only 2 games. You could see it'd be funny you'd be surprised how many great opportunities there still can be bargain bin special caliber wagers. Brett, what have you got for us tonight with your bargain bin special?
Yep, we're going to head to St. Louis for that Blues Vegas game. I'm looking at a player. He's averaging over a point per game in home games, coming off back-to-back multi-point games, and registered a multi-point game in their latest meeting versus Vegas. I'm looking at Jordan Kyrou to have over 1.5 points at plus 375.
There you go. Jordan Kyrou, St. Louis Blues, over 1.5 points, plus 375. So pretty good price there for that. So Blues with Kyrou, over 1.5 points for Brett Skalski, his bargain bin special of the night for this Monday NHL card. My best bet, there's definitely some good options across the board. I'm going to go, it looks like I'm going to go to Kings Canucks at the Ontario book. He is currently plus, at Patano, that is, he's plus 305. And I don't know if there's many books that have him above that price, but because I can get him above that price, I'm going to use it for bargain bin special of the night. Anze Kopitar, LA Kings, plus 305 for my bargain bin special of the night. 5 goals in the last 5 games, including a couple of multi-goal games that he has had. So the old man, and I say that with great respect because he's a surefire Hall of Famer, multi-time Stanley Cup champion, has had an incredible career, a great two-way player his whole career, one of the better two-way centers you'll see in the last 10 to 15 years, and he is heating up offensively at the right time for LA. Anze Kopitar, plus 305 to score a goal tonight for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets to wrap up this edition of the show. Brett, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
With there only being 2 games tonight, I hate to do it, but my best bet is going to be a player prop. I'm going to go with Jake Neighbors to have a point tonight at plus 105. He's got a point in 6 straight games. And with not much else on the board, I'm just going to look for Jake Neighbors to register a point tonight.
All right, Jake Neighbors on that 6-game point streak. Plus, what was it, plus 115?
Plus 105, I got.
Plus 105, all right, to get a point. And remember, I like that Eichel and Neighbors point parlay, plus 170. I think that's definitely something to get in on that. I think that's a pretty good same game parlay point parlay there for the Blues and Kings, or Blues and Golden Knights, I should say. Not to mention the goal parlay, I think is worth a look, plus 800 as well in that game with Neighbors and Eichel in that Vegas St. Louis game. So Brett Skalski, Jake Neighbors, plus 105 to get a point for his best bet for this Monday NHL card. Yeah, player props are good. There's no rules against player props for best bets on this show. All right, my best bet here for this Monday card. Let's go with St. Louis here, plus 130. I mean, I think this is a bit of a disrespectful price to be giving St. Louis at home when we've seen this Vegas team not play as well on the road. When we've seen this Vegas team lose to the likes of Columbus and Buffalo recently on the road in the last month. Now you're playing a Blues team that's playing with great confidence. 6 of their last 7, the Blues have won. They need the points, so focus and motivation and intensity and the best effort possible should be there for the St. Louis Blues in this game. Let's take the Blues here, plus 130 against the Vegas Golden Knights. For my best bet here for this Monday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys Show. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. We might be seeing our friend Brett here tomorrow night for a bit during the Betcast. Looking forward to that. And a reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Brett Skalski, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again for a big Tuesday daily show tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern and the live Betcast tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Coming your way Tuesday right here on the Ice Guys.